Good morning, Stuart. How are you today, my friend?
Good, man. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy
Hey, this
Monday.
is a little bit different. Yeah, happy President's Day holiday. Monday off. Nice and cold outside in here in Maryland. I think you're experiencing the same in Colorado
Yes, sir.
for Rising. Um, hey, this is an awesome opportunity that we've had. We've partnered with DoD Reads as a lot of our. They have a huge team of volunteer readers that effectively will receive books and go through them and then do a review. DoD Reads is an awesome organization that was set up by our good buddy John Laney, and I think it's just why we love it, why we're passionate about it is we believe that leaders are readers, and we believe that a lot of these opportunities to not only read but review books is something that is integral in the leadership life and self development and mentorship and all these types of things. And so today, this is a bit different format than they've traditionally used, but we thought it'd be kind of cool to do a video and review a book that you recently read, which is a follow on to a book that I read that we've talked about in some of our podcasts. But I'll turn it over to you to discuss the very important topic of mentorship, women in the workplace, and the disparity between men and women. And over to you, Stuart.
Yeah, man. Thanks. What's interesting is, we decided to be DoD readers, and it got the list of books, and this book, the right here, "Good Guys: How Men Can Be Better Allies for Women in the Workplace" by David G. Smith and W. Brad Johnson. It was a book that was like continued to pop up on my Amazon list, and it looked very interesting. And I have so many books on my list, and it was actually on my list. And then once I told you that I read it, you were like, "Oh yeah, I read a book similar to that." And come to find out, it's the same. It's the same authors. And then also, what's interesting is these authors. One's I think David G. Smith is a professor at the War College in Newport, which you've been to, and I did their online course. And then Brad Johnson is a professor at the Naval Academy in the leadership department, and which is our alumni. So it's interesting, kind of how it all gets put together. But wow, this book was really really good, and I think it's a book that really all leaders should read, because this issue, this gender inequality in the workplace, is real, and it's real in a way that most men don't really see it, because we're not experiencing it. We're not experiencing it firsthand, and so that's kind of what the first of the book talks about. And the truth is that most organizations still to this day are somewhat dominated by men. You and I see it in the military. And we also see it in our real estate business. For the most part, most of the individuals that we're dealing with in the real estate business are men. And there is still quite a disparity between men and women in leadership positions in the military as well. I mean, so there still is sexual harassment in the workplace. There's still inappropriate comments in the workplace. There's still missed opportunities, promotions, motherhood penalties, and most importantly, which I really didn't realize, is there's a huge wage gap between men and women. And when I first read that, I was really really surprised by it. It says that there's an 81.1% gap between men and women for wages, and that was a statistic taken in 2018. But what's crazy is that wage gap hasn't changed uh, by more than 1% since 2008. So what that really tells you is no one's taken an initiative to change this issue, and because no one's really identifying it. And so, um, this really isn't a women's issue. It's really a leadership issue. And just because, again, there's quite a few more men in leadership positions in organizations. um, it's a man's issue. And so we kind of need to take control of that, and put this at the forefront of our minds when we're leading men and women in our workplace. I don't know, any thoughts on that, Dave?
Yeah, and I mean, I have a ton of thoughts on that, right? And
Yeah,
and this is a book review that very easily could turn into a podcast or a conversation, and should be a conversation
yeah,
that we bring to our wardrooms, our mess, and our to the deck plates, specifically with the military side of it, but also as business owners and leaders, because I think we would all agree that women are not 81% less qualified or uh, less smart, because we know that's not the truth.
yeah,
And I think what's super important about it is, and what these books highlight this, and Athena Rising is the other book that we were talking about that these gentlemen wrote. Um, it requires us as men to be self-aware and to do something about it, right? I think the numbers, whether we know them intimately or not, are very well established. We just don't care. And that's a hard place to be, and to say those words and to recognize it and say we just don't care, because one of um, uh, the fact that it's so pervasive shows that we just haven't taken action as leaders, as men. And it's a responsibility that it should drive us towards action, right? And it
yeah,
should drive us towards awareness, it should drive us towards self-reflection, study, conversation, addressing the issue head on, and trying to understand it. Because it's, as you highlighted, it hasn't changed. And I think from 2008 and before, it was probably even worse.
yeah,
And so to see where we're at, uh, 13 years later, is somewhat discouraging. But it's even more so if we put ourselves in our counterparts' shoes, and the challenges that women specifically face, but also women of color, uh, even doubly face as they come into the workplace, which they also highlight some of those statistics. But to change it from a statistic thing to a leadership thing, I
yeah,
think that's really important.
yeah. And I mean, I'd really like to get this right, because I have a daughter that's going to be going into the workplace in quite a few years. You have a daughter. We have sons. We want to build up sons that empower women to be in the workplace and support them and be allies. So this is really important, and this book really breaks down how to start that, and how to be action takers, which we are all about. So this book breaks it down kind of into three sections. First section is really this allyship journey, which is what they call it. It starts with us. It starts with you internally, and first and foremost, we just have to expand our intelligence. We have to become knowledgeable and increase our situational awareness on this issue, and we have to initiate conversations and engage more with women, and seek friendship, seek mentorship in the workplace, and understand, as a man, what that leadership position is and how we can offer those same opportunities, and seek feedback from women, and really try to intervene when we notice sexist comments, phrases, words, all that kind of stuff in the workplace. And then they talk about, which I think is what I love, is it's really, it also starts at home. And being an ally for your spouse, as a man for your woman spouse, being an ally for her, and pulling your weight at home, and that starts with like domestic work. You know, back in the day, like domestic work kind of fell to the women, but it's not the case anymore. And so, being an ally at home and taking your part in domestic work, and showing that in front of your children, is really important. So that kind of starts that role of being an ally. And then if your spouse is in the workforce, supporting that, and being the first to encourage that aspect of your spouse's life. And then what also I think is really cool is being intentional at work about that as well, and showing people at work that you are an ally and a supporter of your spouse, and giving your spouse that opportunity. And one thing they say is be loud at leaving. And for you and I, like we're kind of leaders in our military workforce, and being loud at leaving, like, hey guys, I'm leaving, I'm heading home because I got to go take care of the kids because my spouse has something that she has to go do for her work, and show that, and be a leader to say that, hey, I'm proud of my wife that she's going to go do work, and I have to go home and be the domestic partner and help out at home. So
Yeah,
I
and I
thought that was
think
really cool.
there's a really important point there too is the traditional gender roles. First off, identifying those and understanding that that's a thing. And then once you understand and identify the issue, to address it. Right. And I think most of us, when you really talk to, other, at least within our network, the men that we talk to, there's a huge desire to be amazing husbands and fathers. And to do that, you have to be an example because we're about action, right? And I think that this book really helps to identify and to point out the thought processes, not only in addressing these issues, but also in the fact that there is an issue and to identify it. And I would challenge men out there to, I think it's somewhat hard to hear sometimes because we have these traditional roles that we embrace. But if you're really maximizing the impact as a husband and a father, does that mean you go home and do the 1950s era? You sit on the couch and you get served your dinner and you watch TV and you don't engage with your family? Like that, it doesn't make sense. And so when you have specific roles, even within the house, I think there's also a business aspect to that. Not only is it an example aspect and it gives you an opportunity to fellowship and have time with your family, which is what we all are always talking about with time freedom to enable us to do these things. But there's also a bottom line. And if you look at it just from a business perspective, if you enable your wife to be her highest and best in this case, and she's pursuing a career, whatever it is, like I know for my wife, the more time I give her to pursue isogenics and help people and serve people, one, she's fulfilled because she's serving people. Two, she's going to make more money.
Yeah.
And so for the bottom line for our household is better. And in business, it's no different. If you empower women to thrive in your business and they are loyal and hardworking and stay with you, well, what does that do for your business? And what does it do for your bottom line? And I think there is an aspect to this. It's very practical application, not just the human side of it, like, hey, just be a good person and empower people, but this will help your bottom line.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge, man. Um, in the next section they talk about is once you've kind of figured that out at home and start at home and being an ally, you have to go public with your allyship, in your workplace. And if you see something, you got to step up. You got to do something. You got to step up and be that watchdog, and own it and be courageous, and call it out and shut it down. And you have to be that voice in the workplace, and offer up that opportunity. There's a lot of things that they go into about, in meetings, and, how men are situated in a meeting place, and, um, you know, allowing women to step in and be the leadership role, housework within the office, how you distribute that, eliciting women's voices. But really, the bottom line is, you have to go public and be that raving fan of women in the workplace, and really offer your own social capital. Nominate for opportunities for women to step up and be the leader in those roles, and just really, be open about this, you know, trying to put women in the workplace to create that equality. So, I thought that was really, really, there's some really good examples in the book about it. And then the last section is, we have to really make a shift in culture. Because just like we talked about earlier, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed from, forever until now. This gender inequality, the wage gap, there's still stuff going on. I mean, you and I see it in the military as leaders. There's still sexual harassment. There's still, tons of stuff going on in the workplace for, against women. So as leaders, we have to make a shift. We have to hold people accountable. We have to be transparent. We have to be open to discussing these problems with our workforce. We have to set expectations. We have to use our influence for change, and we have to attract the right talent, not only on the women's side, but on the man side. We have to attract talent that's going to also be allies in this workforce. And then, as leaders, again, we have to be open, to maybe like changing the rules to offer more opportunities for women, because they're mothers, or if stuff going on, like pregnancies, and hours and policies and shift changes and stuff like that. Like, we have to be open to that, and we have to create this culture of collaboration between men and women, and make sure that, this culture's creating a connection for men and women to be equal partners and leaders in this workforce, in our workforce today. So, really good stuff in this book. And, kind of a last thought here is that this book itself is really just about, men and women, but, our current work environment, it's not just men and women. Like, we live in such a diverse culture, and, these same issues are very similar to, uh, religion issues, color issues, cultural issues, family background issues. There's so many different, uh, you know, ways that we can go with this kind of same issue and problem. And so I think we, as leaders, as men, need to really open our eyes to this, and step up, and just like it says, be better allies for humans in the workplace. You know what I mean? Um, so
Yeah, absolutely, and it is a, like you said, it's a responsibility, and I give a ton of credit and props to W. Brad Johnson and David Smith for being men of courage to write this book, to take the time. These are very well thought out, tons of interviews, anecdotes, data, both in this and Athena Rising, and then I would encourage the leaders and the readers out there to grab these books, to not only to equip yourself with tools, but to bring awareness and to kind of really try to shorten that say do gap, and to empower yourself with the knowledge to address a very significant issue. And I would encourage people, even when you're looking at COVID, look at the when they're talking about the unemployment rates and the jobs lost, and the impact um, of virus. Take a look. It's very eye opening. It's very interesting statistically to see where the preponderance of the lost jobs, lost wages have disproportionately affected women, and it's significant. It's huge. I think I think most people would be taken aback by it. I know I was, and that's even being aware of this significant gap. But even still, I was completely blown away by that. So I would just offer that this book, and we're not going to get into Athena Rising, but as a review, but it also is a great, I'd even say a follow-on to this book. It is a precursor, but it gives some very practical steps on how to do these things. One, it gives reasons why, and it highlights some of the statistics. I'm sure there's a ton of pollination, but then it offers ways to do it very practically, a how to get past some of these barriers to mentorship and to empowerment and really leading. And I think you hit it on the head. Just to when you I don't know how you can be an effective or good leader, and now that you are aware of something like this, to not take action, to educate yourself on it, but also to address it head on and be an advocate in the workplace for those who traditionally have not had advocates and benefited from some of the advantages that we've benefited from. So I think it's hugely important. Awesome book, awesome dudes. I'd love to take a jaunt over to the Naval Academy and sit down and meet these gents, and maybe even have
Yeah.
them on a future podcast, because
Yeah.
just such a great story, great book, and I thank them for writing them.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed it. So David and Brad, thank you for writing it. Like this David said, maybe we can get you on our podcast, and go to DoD Reads. Check out, there's tons and tons of book reviews, tons of value add to their website. And if you're interested in getting the updated most current reading list, you can send us an email at storehouse@dodreads.com. And yeah, look forward to the next book that I get to read.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good job, buddy. Good job. I am proud of you for, I didn't know you could read. So thank you to not only you for reading this book, to the authors, but to DoD Reads for giving us the opportunity. What an amazing platform they have. And hey, leaders are readers. So
Yes,
let's get
sir.
after it.
All right. See ya.
See you.